you really look forward to the weekend, or you really look forward to a holiday, and you tell yourself, I'll relax on the holiday, I'll be present on the weekend. And then you get there and you just can't quite relax. You're planning what you'll do at the holiday, you're booking into tours, and you're like, I actually don't know how to relax. And so this is what happens. We get so caught up in building our doing muscles that when the moments that should make us happy, the holidays, the weekends, we don't know how to relax.
Welcome back to another episode on Find Joy with Joyan, the podcast that is all about helping you live and lead a life with joy. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we are giving you access to the world's best and brightest minds in their fields on our show. Listen in as these leaders impart their wisdom, inspiration, and stories to empower you to live joyfully with intention, passion, and purpose, and celebrate the struggles and overcome the challenges we may face each day with the tools and insights that we are going to share with you. Whether you are looking to improve your relationship, find your passion, learn how to embrace the present moment, deepen your spiritual connection, or learn the magic of manifestation and law of attraction to attract more abundance, this podcast is here to guide you every step of the way. As your host, I am also challenging myself to dig deeper to learn and unlearn and ride along with you. We are not here to tell you how to live your life because it is your life. But this life is all that we have right now. So my friend, why not live our life to the fullest? So I hope these conversations and stories will guide and inspire you to live your life to your highest potential and a life that you are proud of as you continue to grow and evolve in your own journey. So if you are ready to start living a more passionate, purposeful, and joyful life, join us every Wednesday on Find Joy with Joyan for inspirational stories, powerful message, fun conversations, and empowering thoughts with me and my special guests and friends. And now, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Faced with health diagnosis with no cure, she learned to change the way she responded to pain. She then used her hard-won insights to create a science-backed and spiritually informed framework for happiness that actually lasts. That includes working wholeheartedly alongside your challenges rather than resisting them. Today, she's using meditation as a tool for social change. As the creator of the Happy Habit app, with over 2 million downloads in 40 different countries, she has now supported over 100,000 people across the globe to accept and learn from their challenges as a way of living a more real, vibrant, and meaningful life. As we redirect over 30% of profits to provide funding for micro-projects that provide clean drinking water and education to some of the poorest communities in the world. She's here today to empower you to cultivate the type of happiness that actually lasts. So guys, help me in welcoming the multi-award-winning meditation teacher, best-selling author, and philanthropist, Fleur.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
So I want to start with your story. So when you were faced with health diagnosis with no cure, how did you eventually heal yourself?
That's a great question. And I think it was a long and windy journey, peppered with moments of discovery and moments of setback, as I'm sure anyone that's dealt with a big challenge in their lives knows that the path out is not straightforward or linear. There are always twists and turns. But I think what I really cultivated my capacity to do was to hold my challenge in a much larger container of awareness. So when we can sit in spaciousness, that's when we can change the way we see things, change the way we think, change the way we feel. So it's actually through being less reactive that we can actually change. So physical pain is a very clear example that when we resist physical pain, the pain gets stronger. And so you can relate that to any other pain, the pain of feeling lonely, the pain of your career being unrewarding, the pain of your relationships being disappointing. And so when we resist, when we brush up really harshly against what we're facing, it just gets worse. So the question is, how can you soften for long enough to sort of accept what's going on? Because when you cultivate that capacity for acceptance, that's when actually the new ideas come in, the new techniques, the new ways of looking at things. So I think it's a journey around acceptance, because acceptance ultimately allows us to see things differently.
Right. So, how would you help someone? Let's say someone who is listening to this right now, they're going through some sort of challenges in their life. And what is the first and whenever when we are in challenges, when we are facing like a huge challenge or obstacles in life, that is like inevitable. And most people, we either resist, like you said, or we or blame others, like, why is this happening to me? So what is really the first step to start accepting what is going on in your life, no matter how big, how small, right? And then how do we deal with challenges? Like, how do we overcome, or find a solution, because eventually that's what we want to do, right, with challenges, because we do want to overcome, and get to the other side.
Yeah, that's a terrific question. And when you're in the thick of a challenge and someone tells you to accept it, that is nearly impossible. So I will start by saying acceptance isn't this thing that we experience 24/7. We're not constantly accepting of our struggles, but what we're aiming for is just small moments of acceptance each day. So if we're going through a challenge, can we have a small moment where we take a breath, we feel into our heart, we soften our body, and we just say to ourselves, right here, right now, I'm safe, I'm enough, I'm okay. And so we just cultivate these small micro moments of acceptance, and we trust that over time these add up. Because what often happens is people face a challenge and then they do this striving towards acceptance or striving towards finding the gift, the learning. And so we just continue to be hard on ourselves. And so the advice I would give around how do you start to do that is just to notice when you're resisting. So when is your mind saying, it's not fair, this never happens to other people, I'll never get through this, what did I do wrong? So when we notice that harsh inner voice that's directing criticism either upon ourselves or out to the world, we can just soften and we can take a breath and we can ask ourselves, are these thoughts kind? Are they helpful? Do they help me be the person I want to be deep down inside? So that's step one, really learning to become aware of when our mind is resisting. And then from there, we can drop into our bodies and we can notice, where do we feel the resistance? Does it come up heavy across your forehead as busy thoughts and ruminations? Do you feel your resistance in your heart? It gets heavy or closed off. Does your posture change when you're resisting? Do you hunch over? Does your neck move forward? Do you feel it as a tightness in your gut? So our body holds the resistance. And if we can come down from our mind into our body, soften the body, soften the resistance, and then if we can get into the world of our heart, and that's where we can probably locate some compassion, some acceptance, some wisdom. So we get curious about our mind, the habits of resistance. We move into how we feel them in our body. We soften our body, and then we move into our heart. And so that's really what a moment of acceptance looks like. And if you did that once a week, once a day, you'd really start to notice a difference.
That's really interesting because even me personally, I would think that resistance they live in our mind, they live in our head, and it's like the thoughts, right? We are resisting because we have certain thoughts about how things should be, and so it's interesting to hear that. Something that I write down here is that our body holds the resistance. That is really interesting. Maybe can we like dive deeper into like why our body holds the resistance? Because I think a lot of people are also thinking the same as me, like we think resistance is just like thoughts that we have.
Absolutely. And that's another really terrific question and just shows how mind centric we are. So, as humans, 4/5 of our experience happens in our nervous system, in our body, and only 1/5 happens in our mind. But most of us live in our mind. So at any point, we're ignoring 4/5 of our experience if we're not curious about the body. And so this isn't just us. Society tells us that the mind is a better indicator to make decisions, to live life than the body. But if we continue to ignore the way our body communicates with us, that's when we get stressed, when we get sick, when we get mystery illnesses. So just reminding ourselves that 4/5 of our experience every day is in our bodies, in our nervous systems. The fight or flight response, the butterflies in our tummy, the heavy heart, the aching neck, all of those signs are your body's way of communicating with you. And most of us don't learn to listen to these whispers. We don't honor that. So, even introducing small practices each day to listen to your body can be a really powerful path to well being.
So you are a meditation teacher, award-winning meditation teacher. I'm curious because I remember how I first come across meditation. I was just searching some events online, and I saw there was this group meditation, and I have never done meditation in my life before, and that experience itself like totally changed my life. So I meditate. I try at least like try to meditate one every day. So how did you first come across meditation, and under what circumstances did you start meditating?
Thank you for asking that question. So, I had three children very close together, so like three babies, and I really started to notice that my mind was just always replaying things, telling me I should have done this differently or done that better, or my mind was projecting me into the future. Tomorrow, I need to do this, I need to organize this. And that constant pull of my mind towards the past or projecting into the future was actually really making it very difficult for me to be present for my three small children. So, what happened when I was just so stressed because of the mental gymnastics was I just found life really, really hard. I felt like a tree without roots. I was very sensitive to other people's experiences. I was always distracted. I had this low level stress and anxiety. And actually, it was my mum who suggested I try meditation for the benefit of myself and for the benefit of my family. And so I began meditating, and pretty quickly I noticed the difference. But I also began just weaving small mindful moments into my day. So I am all for sitting with your eyes closed for 20 minutes, but I'm also all for a 5-minute meditation or 5 deep breaths. So I think whatever way we can get down from our busy thinking and often critical mind into our bodies, our hearts, and the present moment. Just do whatever works for you. So when my children were small and I would be in the kitchen cooking, if I heard them laugh, I would put down whatever I was doing and I would listen to the laughter, and I would allow it to soften my body. When I went for a walk with the kids in the pram, I'd notice the season I was in. I'd notice the colors, the breeze on my skin. So this engaging our senses is a powerful way to come down from our mind into our body and the present moment. And that's really all meditation is. It's an invitation to drop down into our sensate world and into the wisdom of our body and the present moment. And it's interesting, even though meditation is so widespread, mainstream these days, there are still so many misconceptions about it. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that we need to reach this amazing point of calm or Zen. That's actually not the point of meditation. The point of meditation is just to meet yourself exactly as you are without the resistance. So if your mind is busy, if you're hungry, if you get interrupted, well, that's okay. You just meet that experience as it is rather than trying to change it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because I think that is just you just described like my meditation experience on a daily basis, right? Because yeah, when I go into meditation, I'm still like a lot of thoughts and thinking about what do I do after meditation. And I want to actually pull out this post from your social media that really caught my attention. It's one of your most recent posts, and it says it's actually asking us, is your to-do list out of control? Ever notice how the more you do, the more that needs to be done? That is because doing is contagious. And I could totally relate to this because having a long to-do list, a long one, is how I usually get through my day. I'm sure I'm not the only one, right? So can you talk to us about the importance of being rather than just, and it's not just about doing, like, because we are human being, we are not human doing, right?
Yes. And I'm so pleased that you related to that list or that post, because so many people have those long to-do lists. And if we can think about operating in two different ways, so there's the doing part of us that's real and needs to be there, but there's also the being, but they're both sets of muscles. So you imagine if you go to the gym and you get really strong doing muscles, it's easy just to rely on them all the time. So we actually need to strengthen our being muscles. I'm not sure if you've ever had an experience where you really look forward to the weekend or you really look forward to a holiday and you tell yourself, I'll relax on the holiday, I'll be present on the weekend. And then you get there and you just can't quite relax. You're planning what you'll do at the holiday, you're booking into tours, and you're like, I actually don't know how to relax. And so this is what happens. We get so caught up in building our doing muscles that when the moments that should make us happy, the holidays, the weekends, we don't know how to relax. And so that's why cultivating small moments when we just be during the week then helps us to relax on the weekend. And so small moments of being could be as simple as when you have your morning coffee, don't wipe down the bench. Don't think about everything you need to do. Don't scroll on your phone. Just engage your senses and enjoy that cup of coffee. It could be when you're standing in the supermarket queue. Resist the urge to scroll through your phone to check social media or send that email. Instead, put your feet on the ground. Notice that. Hear people talking, the sound in the supermarket. Notice the colors, the shapes. when you drive to pick your children up from school. Instead of checking your phone between the car and the school, take a mindful walk. Feel your feet as they touch the ground. Notice the season you're in. So when we weave these small moments, I call them mindful moments, but they're moments just to be. When we weave these into our week, we know then how to relax for the good times, for the weekend, or for the holiday. But what's worth noting is that sometimes it can feel really hard to just be
Yeah.
because society is telling us to do. So when you do go to have that mindful moment, when you go to drink your coffee,
Mm.
when you go to notice the season, you have to get used to the idea that there'll be some resistance. A little voice in your head will say, you should be checking your phone. You should be wiping down the bench. You need to get on top of this. And so learning to be isn't just this easy, natural thing, although it should be.
Yes.
We're going to rub up against the resistance, and that's okay. It's all part of it.
Yeah, wow, I could totally relate to that because yeah, actually, I noticed myself getting harder and harder to just relax. Because I think part of it is because we are entrepreneurs, we are building business, we are always like doing things. So meditation, of course, is some like part of my day. That I am just allowing myself to sit quietly without my phone, but my mind is still like filled with thoughts. But I'm noticing it. Like that is good enough for me. Like at least I'm aware, right, of my thoughts, and that is the whole point of being in meditation. So the other thing I want to talk about is about instant gratification because you actually focus on helping people to cultivate, create lasting happiness. And I want to know, what does lasting happiness mean first?
That's a terrific question. And it relates to changing the definition of happiness. How many of us tell stories inside our head? I'll be happy when I get through my emails, I lose some weight, I pay off a bit more of my mortgage, people respect me more, I get fit. And so, this imagined idea that happiness is a feel good state or place where we have everything we want. And the idea is just deeply flawed. It sees us striving, it makes it hard for us to be present, and it ignores the truth that life is filled with joys and challenges. And so we need a new definition of happiness, which really is our capacity to walk wholeheartedly alongside our challenges. And what a liberating and awesome idea that we can be happy even when we're facing challenges. So, that idea of happiness that actually lasts, it's about our capacity to meet whatever is in front of us openly, honestly, with a sense of courage. And so, the framework that I created, which is called 10 pathways, the idea is that at any point in your day, you could pause, sense into how you are, what challenges are there, and you could choose one of these pathways to actually cultivate inner happiness. And so the pathways are things like awareness, calm, compassion, gratitude, perspective, purpose. And so you imagine if you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I've got a busy day, I'm feeling a bit anxious, my body's feeling a bit tight. Which pathway could I explore today to feel happy? And it's like, today I might choose the calm pathway. Maybe tomorrow you've got family and friends who sometimes you don't get on with, all coming over, and you're like, oh, what could I use today to help me feel more content, more happy? Maybe exploring the perspective pathway would be helpful for me today. So the idea is that at any point, no matter what joys or challenges are there for you, there's a pathway that you can choose to walk internally, out in your day, neural pathways, that you can explore to cultivate this sense of inner happiness, this knowing that happiness isn't not having any challenges. It's about not having to run from them and think, I can be happy amidst the challenges.
Oh, that is beautiful. Yeah, that itself offers a whole new perspectives on how do we look at life and how do we live our life. Why do you think so many people are struggling with being happy? Like, what, there are so many people who are unhappy today, right? Let's be honest. Why do you think they are so unhappy?
I think people are exhausted. Um, I think that the pandemic was a lot more on people than we realized. I think we realized when it was happening that it was a lot, but a lot of us went into survival mode. A lot of us were really busy with our careers during the pandemic as a way just to keep on going. And I think as lockdowns have subsided, as life's gone back to normal, people's nervous systems are exhausted, and not many people have actually taken the opportunity to really be with themselves and to notice what a massive toll the pandemic had on us. So it had a toll as it was happening, but we all braced, we all tensed up, and we just got through it. And now, as it subsided, all our nervous systems, both individual and collective, are still on that hypervigilance, on the lookout for threats. And so life feels really hard like that.
Yeah, yeah. And so when did you create this happy habit? I don't know why is it so hard for me to pronounce that happy habit. Yeah. When did you create this app? Is it before the pandemic or after the pandemic?
It took about a year to develop, and then I launched it in the month of when they called the pandemic.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay. And I believe it was like the divine timing, right? Because that's when people needed it the most. So talk to me about the app. Like, is it all about meditation, or you do offer like some other tools and resources? I know like some journaling question as well, right? On the app.
Yeah. So there are quite a few offerings on there. So the first one is for people that are really busy and know they should meditate, but just can't
Mm.
quite get it happening. So there is 5-minute challenges. So the idea is that you choose a challenge and that every day for 10 days or 30 days, you'll receive a brand new 5-minute meditation. And if you don't listen to it in that 24 hours, it disappears and you just try the next one. It's fun, it's easy. It's intended for people to feel really proud of themselves that actually they meditated for 10 days in a row, and for them to realize that 5 minutes is enough. And then there are longer meditations. There's also courses, 10-day, 21-day, 30-day courses, which are for people who are ready to dive a little deeper. So they have about a 10-minute educational component and then drop into a meditation, and they're incredibly popular. And then there's journaling and there's music.
So what is your meditation practice? I mean, personally, you like how often do you? I'm sure every day, but how long and what is your style of meditation? Because there are so many different types of meditation, like guided meditation, visualization. I don't even know whether visualization is considered as meditation. Like, there are so many, and breath work, right? So what is your style of meditation? How do you personally meditate?
I meditate using a mantra. So, a phrase that I repeat in my head. So that's what is appealing to me at the moment. But I also use a breath work. So I imagine my breath perhaps moving from the soles of my feet all the way up out my head on the inhale, and on the exhale moving back down my body. So I'm very creative in my mind, the techniques that I use. I don't like guided meditation because, as a meditation teacher myself, that little inner critic comes in and I start critiquing the guided meditation. So that doesn't work for me. That's why I'm better to use a mantra that's in Sanskrit and has a different feel. Sometimes I'll just listen to music, and I meditate in the morning for about 15 minutes before the kids wake up, especially when I'm stressed, because I know that that really sets me up for a good day.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I first started meditation, I could only follow like guided meditation, because if it was just me and my thoughts, then it was just me and my thoughts, right? I need to listen to someone's voice and just follow that. It was a lot easier. But right now, because I've been doing it for quite few years now, and I prefer like just having a background music and just sit there and breathe, right? That's what I prefer. So I would say always like follow, like you know what you want, right? You know what you need. What would be your advice to people who are thinking about starting their meditation practice, but they are kind of struggling to find out what fits them, what suits them?
Yeah, I think that's a terrific question. And I think where people often start is a guided meditation at night. They fall asleep in the middle of it. They take their headphones out halfway through the night. I feel like that's a good place to start. You're in bed, just put the put the headphones in and listen to a guided meditation. Um, I think next up is probably mornings. People love meditating in the morning. They can tick it off their to-do list. It ripples out into the day. They feel good. Other people like an afternoon, pick me up guided meditation. But I would say for people that are keen, start with a guided meditation. But if you don't like the person's voice, if you don't like their instruction, you can press stop and choose somebody else. That's the other thing with guided meditations. You don't have to interact with every single thing they say. If you want to breathe in a different way, if you want to visualize something slightly different, well, that's okay. So I feel like that's important. And then just really to trust yourself. There will be other people that are very into heart centered practices and maybe lighting a candle, doing something nice and soft, having a rug, and just repeating silently something in your mind like, I am enough. I am enough. Maybe that's a beautiful little practice for someone. But I definitely think trusting yourself, trusting your own intuition, and trusting that you know what's good for you is really, really important.
Yeah, wow, yeah, exactly. So as a social enterprise, you are actually redirecting 30% profits to provide clean drinking water and education to underprivileged communities in the world. I want to know what motivated you to integrate philanthropy into your business. How do you see the intersection between personal growth and social change?
Oh, I just got full body shivers when you asked that question because I think we just need to be talking about this more.
Mm,
So, when I first started teaching, I had a mindfulness for mum session, and I decided that I would direct all proceeds to a group of mums in Africa. And when I did the guided meditation, I invited all these women to think about these women in Africa that we were going to support, to send our love, our energy, our best wishes. And when we came out of that meditation, the women in that group were like, that is the most amazing meditation I've ever done. My heart felt open, my body felt relaxed. I accessed a state of compassion and awareness that I didn't know was possible. And so I really got a sense then that when we can allow our meditation practice to help us to connect with other people around the world, that's when the magic happens. And so I began to create courses and use the funds from the courses to support certain projects like Women in Africa, mosquito nets, water, education, domestic violence. And I allowed the courses to relate to the project. So, for example, if we were talking about meeting ourselves exactly where we were at, I used that for counseling for women in Vietnam who were doing the same thing. And the results for people were just amazing. Being able to get out of their own head, get out of their own funny little ways, their own problems, and to see that their meditation practice was not only helping them, it was actually creating positive ripples. That was just really powerful. And so I then got very specific with the projects that I would fund, because you want to fund things that everyone can relate to. So water, being a basic human need, is something that everybody can relate to, providing access to children in Bangladesh with clean drinking water. So that's where my profits go at the moment. And I just feel like, there's this idea that we first come to meditation to alleviate a pain, like I can't get to sleep, my mind's busy, I feel angry all the time, whatever. The second reason we meditate is for personal growth and development. We're like, okay, I'd like to feel more compassion, more understanding, more perspective. And then the third reason is we actually meditate to connect with an energy that is much larger than us, this sense of connection, of creativity, of compassion. And we can do that by knowing that our meditation practice is creating ripples. So that's what I feel very strongly about.
That is a beautiful mission. And thank you for doing what you're doing. And sometimes, we are so stuck in our own world, like, we don't really think about, we are like, we are anxious or stressed about issues in our life, and we don't really think about, it's all about gratitude, right? If you think about people in Africa, they don't even have a clean drinking water. They have to travel for miles to get to, a place where they can get drinking water. You will realize how lucky you are, right? So yeah, I think it's about gratitude as well, and perspective, right? Your 10 pathways, right? So I think that also led people to really cultivate gratitude and see their problems in, like, see their problems as not problems, because there are people who are like struggling with some other problems that you just take for granted, like having water or having electricity or having Wi-Fi, right? So thank you so much. And how can we support you? Like, tell my listeners how they can support this mission, this beautiful mission of yours.
Thank you. So you can download the Happy Habit app, and you can listen to that for as long as you like for free to a certain amount of the content. And if you enjoy it and you want to go deeper, then you can subscribe. It's less than $5 Australian a month, which is about $3 US. It's very reasonably priced. And for every year subscription, which I think is about 45 Australian dollars, 4 people get a lifetime's access to clean drinking water. So that's a very, very cool thing to do. And then the other thing is my book, my first book, 10 Pathways, is like a book version of the app. And again, that gives 4 people a lifetime's access to clean drinking water. Or people can follow me on social media, where I don't take things too seriously. I just try and have some fun. And yeah, it's been my pleasure to connect with you today. And you've asked some wonderful questions. And I just wanted to thank you for doing the work you are doing, and imagining all the people who are listening to your podcast or working with you having their own moments and showing up with more courage and more confidence and more purpose. So yeah, it's been my pleasure to have connected with you.
Well, thank you so much for that. Is there anything else that you really want to talk about? Perhaps I didn't ask you, didn't let you, about meditation, maybe, or anything that you would like to discuss?
Well, I think there's just this feeling when you're overwhelmed, when you're pulled in all directions, and you know deep down that you need to rest, pause, reassess. Sometimes that can feel really scary, and we can think, if I collapse, I'll never get up again. Like, I can't stop, because then I'll just eat chocolate biscuits in bed for a year and I will never, I won't be able to climb out of this hole. So I think trusting that small moments to start with are enough. Small moments where we notice ourselves, small moments where we notice the season, where we have a laugh with a friend, where we taste some delicious food. And so if we can just start with small things, we don't need to be so scared that if we fall into the hole, we'll never climb out, because I know that's a fear for a lot of women. They're like, I just have to keep on going and hope that this feeling will disappear. And so what we resist persists. There's no running from what needs to be experienced. But you don't have to experience the challenges, the darkness in some really hard way. You can do it in small moments each day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's like, the saying, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time.
That is so good, because that expression is in my first book, because
Oh,
my dad, I just love that synchronicity. My dad used to say that to us when we were little and we were feeling overwhelmed about our studies. And I think it's perfect to end on that, with the phrase that my dad used when I was little, and that from the other side of the world, you know that expression too.
yeah, but it's not the end yet, because we always end with our final 5 rapid fire questions. So these are the 5 questions that I ask all my guests at the end of the show, and every question has to be answered in 1 word or 1 sentence maximum. All right. The first question is, what is one thing you wish you knew earlier?
I am enough.
Love it. Second question, if you could live your life all over again, what would you do differently?
Not sweat the small stuff.
Love it. Third question, what is something you're trying to learn or curious about right now?
Astrology.
Oh, wow. Interesting. If you have 5 minutes and the whole world was listening to you, what would you say?
I would say we are lucky to be alive.
Beautiful. The last question is, what brings you joy?
Nature.
Wow. Love it. Thank you so much for taking your time out. I'm sure a lot of people are interested to get to know you more, work with you, connect with you. Where can I send people to you?
Yes. So my website to the app, the Happy Habit app on the App Store or Google Play or Instagram.
So, all right, guys, I know you love this episode. Go follow her, go to her website, download the Happy Habit app, and connect with her and start your meditation journey and your happiness journey today. To connect with me, follow me on Instagram at joyan.chan to see what I'm up to and support me as we release new episode every Wednesday. So make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode with me and my awesome guests. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you with every other episode. Show up. The world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning to Find Joy with Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can help support this podcast in one of 3 ways. 1. Take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your IG story and tag me at findjoyjoyan_podcast so I can repost and connect with you. 2. Share this podcast with a friend or a family member. And 3. Leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts so we can continue to grow and reach more listeners worldwide. Make sure you also subscribe so you don't miss out on any episode coming Wednesday. Thanks for being here, and I will see you soon in the next episode.